is to get every woman connected with her innate creative genius. How did you first come to realize that creative genius within yourself?
I don't know that I can claim, well, I guess I should claim creative genius because I said every woman is connecting with her creative genius, and I am a woman. So, um, when I first learned about my innate creativity, I wasn't conscious of it. So strangely, when I was a very little girl, I had a double bed that was kitty cornered against a corner. And every year for Christmas, we were very poor, and I would gather things from around the house that were essentially trash. So everything from toilet paper rolls to old washcloths that were just past their date. And I would make dolls for people for Christmas, my parents, and I would just make things. I would do drawings, I would make things out of macaroni and macaroni noodles. And what was crazy is my family hated them. And they told me to stop, but I just couldn't.
Your family hated the dolls you made?
They did. My stepmother was patient for a couple years, but I think at one point they just went, "You gotta stop with this." So then I went out, and every summer I would go outside and make daisy chains for my dogs, and I was always making something. So I don't know that I really understood what creativity was. And all I knew was that my body, my nervous system felt better when I was doing things with my hands and my body. And that's, I believe, the earliest of my creative knowledge.
Please tell me about your journey from there. You had to be creating something, you had to be making something. How do you go from there to becoming a fine artist who works in all kinds of media?
I came the timeline from that little sweet runt of a girl in southern Missouri to now, which is I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm a full-time artist. Here's my beautiful studio. The journey has been varied, as every creative journey does, of self-doubt, of personal limitations, of financial limitations. People think artists who are full time are kind of these magical beings, and it's not so. In fact, most of the time when someone says to me, "How do you make a living, a full time living as an artist?" And I say, "Study business." Not necessarily, and study financial well being as a part time job, even if you're not in school for it. And that's what I did. So my journey was I was also in theater, drama. I left when I was in high school. I was winning state competition and such. I moved to New York City when I was 18 years old after a year of college in St. Louis, Missouri. I just needed to be in a center where there were people that were different than me, who thought differently than me. It's always been an ache for me to be around people who are better than me at things, and I can draw information from them. So I went to New York City when I was 18, and I got accepted to Parsons School of Design, which was kind of shocking considering I had no context. No one in my family had ever completed college before. And I also was doing theater at the same time. So during the day, well, no, not while I was in school. I was waitressing 3 jobs, trying to do one semester at Parsons, and then I would work for a year, and then I would go back to school for 6 months, and then I'd work for a year and a half and eat ramen noodles and sleep 4 hours a night. So it was really hard. Ended up right out of when I graduated FIT, I switched to FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology. It was a state school, so less expensive, same teachers. And I was offered a job out of college, and I thought, oh my gosh, a corporate job. But I was so tired of being so poor and hungry and tired. So I was an art director, started the lowest rungs in advertising in New York City, working my way up. And from to fast forward from that art directing thing with no fine art And I actually didn't go to school for fine art. I went for communication design, graphic design, because I was too scared to go as a fine artist. Then I ended up moving to Los Angeles, no art. So I didn't do any fine art probably from the ages of 19 to about 28, 29. And I was at one of these artist flea markets, and I saw this artist who had this line that was just, I yearned to know him and how he made this beautiful artwork, these portraits. Started studying with him at his, at his, it was an auto garage with tons of easels in it. That was his art studio in like Compton. So it was not the greatest area. But there were a few of us who went, and he was a brilliant teacher, Scott Glazier. He's a beautiful artist, still in LA, and started painting. And I was just bitten again. But I had found a pencil at my tiny little apartment, and I drew a picture, and it was good. And that's when I say manifested Scott to come into my life and started painting from there. And I've kind of not stopped since. I did study art, study business the whole time. So always studying investing, always studying how to create a life of financial freedom for myself so that I could do what I creatively wanted to. And that's where I am now. So I have my art business, and then I created another business that supports my art business. So I don't have to be terrified about not selling artwork. And yes, I make a living as a full-time artist, but I also have this other business that supports me as well to just breathe easier. So that's what I really suggest to artists is do what you love and work your little patootie off to figure out how to handle your money.
What a great tip for any creative.
Or any person, especially women, any woman. We must.
You have an utterly beautiful series right now of
Mm,
skies. And I looked at these on your website. I'm
thank you.
intrigued that you capture something that a lot of artists don't. Everybody will say, oh, beautiful sky, beautiful sunset. You capture the intensity. What first
Thank you.
brought that to your attention?
COVID. I used to have a business I recently shut down called Santa Fe Art Classes, where 2-hour painting classes where someone who's never held a paintbrush before can come in and they leave with a unique painting they did that's completely different than their wife or husband next to them or their children. So I've really created this painting process that I taught to other teachers that could take someone from zero to really proud artwork in 2 hours. And I heard myself during the classes say all the time to the students, all it is about looking. You just have to know how to look and you can paint anything. But I had been intimidated by skies because I thought, nature is so glorious. There is no way I can possibly capture her. And then one day during COVID, I thought to myself, wait a second, sister. You tell your students that you can paint anything as long as you know how to look. So start looking. And every night I would sit out on my beautiful deck with this stunning view and this incredible skyscape in Santa Fe, picked up some soft pastels, dove in, and my first sky was so intense and so lovely. And I just kept making them and people kept buying them. And one of my collectors called it, I was selling them on Facebook, which, by the way, artists, put your stuff on Facebook and put a price. If you're just starting out, and say, DM me if you're interested, and you will make sales if you've done something you're proud of, and you tell people what it is. You know, when you go into a clothing store, and it doesn't have prices, you walk out because you're like, well, I don't know if I can afford something or not. So in the beginning, before you're kind of feel more elevated in your career, just do that and sell things so you feel good. So at that time, I was putting them on Facebook because all the galleries were closed down and nobody was going anywhere, and people were like spending a lot of time on social media. And so I started selling those. And now, thank you very much for your compliment. Now I'm doing 4 foot by 6 foot, 8 foot by 11 foot skyscapes in a series that I call Sky Dance. And it's really gestural and fun. In fact,
I see a real unity of opposites in your work. And you've said that you work on two different tracks. What I'm
I do.
specifically thinking of is your storm approaches, and you talk about the tumult and the turbulence, but I also see an almost maternal gentleness. This is the creative force coming
Yes,
in. Would you tell me about these two tracks on which you create your art?
sure. Happy to. In my studio, as I said before, it just feels good to my body. Sorry for the clanging. I'm in a very large space, and there's a fan that I need to secure. So the two tracks. One is it's a very meditative, very calming, very gentle ritual that I have when I'm painting, and that's the skies. You know, it is like a meditation. Once I'm present in front of my easel and my paints, it's almost as if my left brain, my thinking brain, is shut off, and it just becomes, ooh, that color feels good. That brush is delicious. Ooh, and then I want to use some water on that. I'll spray it. And it just is this very present moment meditation flow state that I access very easily now when I stand in front of my easel. The other track is this virtual reality and projects type track where I I contemplate a universal issue, an existential threat, a trauma that is micro, perhaps in my life, but if it's affecting me, then it's affecting millions of other women, I'm sure, even if I don't know anything about them. And so I'm always thinking about how can I use my art to try to move the needle in some small way or large way to benefit the world. And so I look at my art, I want to be a distribution point for good. I want my art to use me. I want spirit, whatever you want to call it, whatever your name is, to use me to do some kind of good in the world. And that, because I'm dealing with something existential or traumatic, can heighten my my agita about that. We get upset when we think about. I personally get upset when I think about some of the things that are happening in the world, climate change and the political scheme, and oligarchs and inflation and these things that are traumatizing to so many people. And so then I focus on those works, and then I just gracefully move over to this meditative practice that is my painting, and they balance each other really beautifully for me. It's challenging for people to say what I do because I have these two tracks and sometimes three tracks. And most artists are looked like we're supposed to brand ourselves, or galleries are supposed to be able to say we're one thing. And I've just given up on that. I'm two things. And that's just, the wind is wild in Santa Fe right now. I'm so sorry for the noise,
That's fine.
but somebody's clanging at us.
Somebody is saying, "Yay, go Robbie." That's
Yeah,
what
that's
the
it. They're
universe
clapping.
applauding you.
We're just going to think it's clapping.
Let's get into doing virtual reality for your art and virtual reality performances.
Again, COVID. We were all squished in our homes. Luckily, I wasn't too squished. And in 2021, challenged myself to learn 21 new applications and programs for digital art making. And I did. I was just learning all these things, and it was so exciting. And I didn't have to produce for any galleries or anything. And so I just dove into the learning. That is really interesting. Sorry,
That's
clapping, you
fine.
said. Um, and so I dove into the learning, and I learned 21 new programs, but I actually stopped counting at 43 new programs. and just kept learning. And I found this application, this program in virtual reality called Multibrush. And it's the closest thing that I've been able to find in virtual reality or in the digital realm that enables me to paint like with a paintbrush. And it's a sculptural program. So you're in 3D, like Unity or any other 3D virtual reality program, but I can create real time. And I just fell in love with it. And I started contemplating, what am I really doing? And I kept going because not only was it fun, but also, again, just like when the telephone was created, everyone thought it was going to ruin the world. And when the internet was created, so many people prophesized it was going to ruin the world. Technology doesn't ruin the world. It's what do we humans do with the technology, right? And so I thought, I want to use this technology in a productive way. And while I'm painting in the program called Multibrush, sometimes I'll help. The last time I was painting, which invites public users from around the world, just like gaming, to just pop in. And I had a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old boys, two boys from Russia who spoke beautiful English, who came in and started painting with me and saying, how did you make that dragon? And how did you make the eye like that? And I was just talking to them and teaching them and I'd never met them. I know nothing about, they literally came from outer space and dropped into my artwork and started painting with me. And I thought, and they were leaving immediately afterwards. They had to leave because they were going to their class. Their teacher was meeting them in virtual reality and they were going to their class. So when I think of therapy, when I think of classrooms, when I think of art, when I think of all these magnificent and infinite possibilities that we have with virtual reality, I feel very interested in exploring the fine arts within it.
What a magnificent opportunity for you as an artist and a teacher.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And it's become, because I do have a background in performance, as we discussed earlier, I ended up singing in cabarets in New York City in the evenings, and I did a lot of shows. I was off Broadway and did the Edinburgh Film, I mean, did films. And so I was a little actor as well, did well with that as a first career. And that performance skill set of learning how to be on stage with 2,000 people in theater gave me this different skill that when that virtual reality, headset is on me, I can feel the person in the 20th row cough and know that I want to deliver to them. So it's kind of like live theater, only I'm blind and making art at the same time. So for me, it really stretches me, it toffees my comfort level and makes me always grow. So I love that too. That's kind of my through line in my life.
From that first experience teaching those boys in virtual reality, how did you decide to go out and do virtual reality performances like you do, live performances?
It just natural evolution of things, again, constantly challenging myself. I was asked by a college to come in and teach a class, a New Mexico Technology college. And while I was there, I said, put on some music for me. And let's all, like, you guys just choose your favorite music and throw out ideas. Do you want me to draw an apple? Do you want me to, a spaceship? Like, what do you want me to draw? And so while I was there, they started real time throwing me ideas and talking to me and asking me about how did you do that? And I love the interactivity and I love sharing information. I love teaching. I love having people wanting to grow themselves. And so that first time when I was at the college teaching this VR art, and showing them introducing the possibilities to their minds, it was a performance and it just felt natural to then get on bigger stages. So done NFT NYC. I've traveled all over the world performing. Now I'm talking to someone who's representing me in performance. So it's an interesting way to stretch myself. I love it. So I'm looking forward to my first 2,000 seat theater with a VR headset on, making 3-story high artwork. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, you said, wouldn't that be? Is that something that you are manifesting or something that's going to be happening immediately?
It's not on the books, but I know it will because when I vision something that specifically, I have learned to know when it's actually going to happen. I mean, there is nothing on the calendar like that large a performance, but I do have some performances that are in the talks right now for some significant entities, National Sawdust in Brooklyn and the New York Symphony Orchestra Group. And, so the folks that I'm speaking with are planning things. It's just nothing has come to pass right now. Nothing's on the calendar.
People are going to want to keep up with where you're going to be performing and perhaps where you'll be teaching as well. How do they get in touch with you?
Well, you can go to my website, rowfirestone.com. And you can follow me on social. All my social is at Robbi Firestone. Robbi. I shortened my website because sometimes people would misspell and add an E or a Y. So, but if you just Google Robbi Firestone artist, you're going to end up coming into my realm.
What would you consider one of the most important things you've learned about yourself creatively as someone who's constantly evolving as an artist from working with virtual reality?
The thing I've learned about myself that's really important lately, because my creativity teaches me who I am every day. And that's the thing I love about the creative practice is if you enter into trusting your inner artist, whatever that means, whether it's writing, virtual reality painting, painting on a canvas, that inner voice is your teacher. So for me, right now, the most important thing I've really learned is about my true need to make artwork because my nervous system, my body, my soma needs it. I need to be working with my hands in order for me to feel peaceful and to make things and to just the joy that people get when I'm able to share what I love to do. I used to think when I was much younger that art really, like my art, wasn't really that interesting or important. But then when I see how my collectors interact with it and my private clients, I do painting private retreats as well. So if anyone's interested in that, then just send me a note and I'll send you out information when the next one is launched. So yeah, I think right now it's about my body and just how much my body needs to be making artwork.
Signature question for my podcast. If people could only get one thing from you about innovation, creativity, and making a difference, what would you really love them to take away from the work you're doing?
From the work I'm doing, to just be, my hope would be that you're inspired to use your personal gifts to do good in the world, to be a distribution point for good, and let your creativity use you for good. I think that's
Robbi,
it.
thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be on your podcast, Dot. Thank you so much.